I'm looking out the window of the book depository building. The window overlooks Elm Street. And this is where Oswald made his shots to murder John F. Kennedy in broad daylight in front of hundreds. On film, all of it. All of this is depicted by Oliver Stone in the JFK movie. I've been debating doing a top 10 greatest movies of all time according to Peter A. DeLuca, aka AKAPAD, the film buff episode. I've been debating it. And what I didn't write down on that list was this movie. JFK by Oliver Stone is a top 10 movie of all time. Few movies affected the culture and popular thought. There's ideas presented in this movie. We can say ideas made up for this movie that people accept as truth, and in their heart of hearts they want to be true. This movie goes right into what we see on the internet. It goes right into Terrence Howard creating his own math. It goes right into flat earth theory. It goes right into the moon landing was fake. Oliver Stone made an American masterpiece about one of the most tragic days we've ever seen, that we can ever imagine, that we've maybe almost got in recent politics. But we're talking JFK today. JFK is one of the greatest films ever. So get ready, aka Pad the Film Buff podcast. If you need it laid out for you, we're going to do it today.
Quiet on the set.
Camera speed.
Sound production, take one.
Action!
So here's the amazing thing, aka Powders. My original intro for this episode was 2 minutes, and it was great. And guess what? Your boy here didn't record, so I hate myself. But guys, Peter A. DeLuca here. Welcome back to the show. We talk about new movies here. We talk about old movies. We talk about revelations that I get. I try and bring you my absolute excitement. I'm an original VHSer. I'm a original midnight showing. I remember before there was no midnight showings for movies. I remember when movies dropped on Friday when the theater opened. You had to go see a movie early Friday. I remember waiting for movies at Blockbuster. All of this stuff. And I'm bringing it to you. I'm a big streamer. I love the streaming apps. I love everything we have available at home to enjoy movies. Big giant screens, amazing sound bars, lower the lights, you make your own popcorn, get your own popcorn, and it's there. A movie as intended. So I came back from Dallas, and I immediately bought this movie. I may have bought it as soon as the airplane hit the tarmac in Philadelphia. Think it was $12. Amazon. I get the extended edition. I don't watch the regular edition anymore for JFK. I remember owning the double disc VHS. So at one time, you had 4 VHS tapes and you had 2 movies by Oliver Stone. You had Natural Born Killers and you had JFK. The Natural Born Killers one was a big deal. Getting those extended scenes, those longer cuts, the additional violence, the additional bad business that Mickey Mallory are up to. This is equal to a time. Like I go back to JFK. I was so fascinated when I was younger about the assassination. The JFK assassination bleeds into UFOs, like all these other conspiracy theories, including the ones I mentioned in the intro. So Oliver Stone he's got one of the great all-time runs. He made a movie in 1974 called Seizure. Wrote and directed. I never even heard of this movie. I thought his intro was Midnight Express. Him as writer. 1981, The Hand. Writer Conan the Barbarian. Conan's becoming a lot. coming up a lot again. Writer, 1983, Scarface. Writer, Year of the Dragon. Hate the ending of that movie. Writer, director, 1986, Salvador. Writer, 1986, 8 Million Ways to Die. Writer, director, 1986, Platoon. Writer, director, 1987, Wall Street. Writer, director, 1988, Talk Radio. Fantastic movie. Writer, director, 1989, Born on the 4th of July. Producer for Blue Steel. Producer for Reversal of Fortune in 1990. We might want to assume he was attached to direct one of those two movies. 1991, writer director, The Doors. 1991, writer director of JFK. Multiple years he's involved with 3 movies. He's writer director for multiple. Every single movie, like The Doors, Oscar, like, you know, they want Val Kilmer to get the Oscar for. Nowadays he would, because they do impersonations. They do impersonation Oscars now. But back in the day, no. Born on the 4th of July, Wall Street, Platoon, Salvador. These are all movies that are right there in the Oscar race. JFK, right there, Oscar race. And I remember this miss. And I never seen this movie, Heaven and Earth, which completes what they call the Oliver Stone Vietnam trilogy. Heaven and Earth, Born on the 4th of July with Tom Cruise, and Platoon, right? And Platoon gets Best Picture. So he makes Heaven and Earth, and it's like, right? Doesn't quite hit. But then he makes Natural Born Killers. I remember this movie being absolutely fascinating to me. Still is. I know Quentin Tarantino hates that movie. I don't know why. I really don't. It's like one of the few things Tarantino's ever said that I don't agree with. In 1995, he does the spiritual successor to JFK. So Oliver Stone, like, in a way too, he has a Vietnam trilogy. He has this political trilogy. I believe he's even got like a true crime trilogy too. It's like his themes are insanely prevalent in his work. But we get Nixon with Anthony Hopkins, and Nixon is 1,000% there. I love the hyper. There's like a hyper aspect to it, and it's got these traces of Natural Born Killers in it. I love Nixon. He's involved with Freeway, People versus Larry Flint, Evita. He's the writer for Evita. Madonna, Oscar bait. And then we get U-Turn, this low budget true crime story. But Sean Penn, U-Turn's incredible. Sean Penn did he did The Game and he did like U-Turn. And at one time he was just like the director's actor. If you kind of had a wild character, like, you would get him and know what you were going to get. We go to 1999, what I consider to be the greatest football movie of all time, Any Given Sunday. And we kind of want to say we potentially begin to skid. I know so many people, they go in so heavy against Alexander the Great, Colin Farrell. There's an Ultimo cut of this movie, and the longer cut of this movie, I don't know. Again, how much of this podcast am I going to almost like argue against myself on, when I know the popular opinion is bad? Like, you know, like a movie gets trashed and becomes truth. And then here I am on a freaking hill defending the 2004 Alexander That came out around Troy. It was like a little bit of a realistic Lord of the Rings reaction run that Hollywood was on. And in 2006, we get World Trade Center director. We get 2008. Oliver Stone now gets completely weaponized, completely political. He makes W with Josh Brolin, right? The political trilogy. And at this time, it's a good movie because Oliver Stone has spent a lot of time in conspiracy theorists and all of these things, right? Like, Oliver Stone has spent a lot of time wearing a tinfoil hat. So, George W. Bush, again, internet darling, all these theories, all these ideas, people convinced, like, who he is in real life, all of these things, right? So, he kind of makes this video targeting, like, Bush. I mean, he makes a movie targeting Bush. The movie's good, though. I mean, it's a well-made flick. I love the structure of W. I want to say W. It should be D-U-B, like D-A, like W. South of the Border. Director. Wall Street, Money. I haven't seen South of the Border. I cannot speak on this movie. It's a documentary, okay. Wall Street, Money Never Sleeps. Now here we go. Financial crisis. Oliver Stone is in full activist mode. He's making a movie about how people screw up markets and control markets. And there's parts of this movie I like. I love the way it's shot. It looks beautiful. But there are a couple... Like, we're not behind Shia LaBeouf in this movie. We're just not behind the guy we're supposed to be behind in this movie. And then there's like a whole subplot where they're doing like aqua power or something. They're trying to find clean energy, which is a oxymoron. No energy is ever clean. Anyway, 2012 is one of the most overlooked, underrated films of anyone's catalog. Savages. 2012. We will hit this movie and we will discuss Savages. I'm not even going to speak on it now. 2016, to further his activism, Snowden. I have yet to see Snowden. And then like the rest, like going up into modern day, it just seems like it's a lot of documentaries. So that's Stone's filmography. In this movie, we have Robert Richardson. He's our cinematographer. This is maybe one of the best cinematography efforts I've ever seen. I always say, like, this movie's lit from above. And there's halos. Like, people are just haloed and glowing throughout this entire movie. This movie is only watchable because of Robert Richardson. Because there's so much talking. There's so much exposition. The exposition overload is a knock against this movie if you don't have patience and you can't get engaged. But that doesn't take away from the power of this movie. Robert Richardson is one of our highlights of this movie, period. He's also Aviator. You guys know how much I love Morris Scorsese's Aviator. And then the other film production superstar that's in this movie is John Williams. And John Williams' score, it's one of his best. And it's so freaking good. It cuts glass. It pulls you in. I kind of want to listen to it. Like, maybe I'll get that today. Maybe I will listen to John Williams' JFK score. Budget overall for JFK, $40 million. Box office, $205 million. And then we have Kevin Costner, Kevin Bacon, Tommy Lee Jones, Laura Metcalf, Gary Oldman, Sissy Spacek, Michael Rooker. It's insane. This is one of the greatest Hollywood productions of all time. It just reminds me, back in the days of Ben-Hur and Cleopatra, where big production, we get everyone involved, we get our best people in front of and back of the camera, we get our best production people. We just get the best and we get them to work, We put them to work. I do love this movie. It's shocking that it's not more spoken of. It's not more widespread. Even the movie poster, it's absolute perfection. Kevin Costner gives again like one of his all-time performances. Tommy Lee Jones as Clay Shaw, one of all-time performances. Joe Pesci. Like, these people, you remember their monologues, you remember their mannerisms when they're like going through these interrogations. And what's the the plot of the movie where Kevin Costner plays Jim Garrison or James Garrison? I think it's Jim Garrison, but he plays Jim Garrison. He's involved with New Orleans politics, lawyer. I think he's a district attorney, but he gets obsessed with the assassination and starts digging, and potentially finds relevant information. But the way how he connects the dots, he brings a trial, right? Like all this falls flat in the real world. Also in the movie. In the movie, though, I love his obsession. And Sissy Spacek as the wife trying to hold the family together. And how disconnected he is. Like, the way Kevin Costner plays Garrison is you feel bad for him. Because no one's on his side. It's insane. Martin Landau. I love that. The Patsy speech on the airplane. There's very few movies that are insanely impactful as JFK that it's all conversation. And there is a true love of this material from Oliver Stone that comes through. Considering his run that I just ran through, multiple years, multiple movies, writing, directing, producing, his 80s through 2000 run is, in my view, equal to Spielberg and his Amblin Entertainment Universal Studios run. It really is. Because there's just so much that Oliver Stone's a part of. And I'm going right back to U-Turn. U-Turn he made for $20 million. And no one even, again, like no one, I didn't even know. Did you? We have to talk U-Turn. I just saw something. Oh, excuse me, guys. I did not turn off my email notifications. And yeah, so I mean, we do this a lot, but I have to go into an Oliver Stone deep dive. Seizure is, I have to see this movie, this 1974 movie. But this is what great movies do. They make us soak in the material. I went on a deep dive to watching a lot of JFK documentaries. I used to own the Warren Commission report. I ordered that off of Amazon. I also ordered the book that this was based on the trial of the assassins. And the most important idea as a film to take away from this is the ideas of this film are repeated so much. People have accepted them as truth. And they're not. This is a movie. It's entertainment. It doesn't mean there's not parts of it, right? Like, there's parts in everything. There's parts in Empire Strikes Back that's, you guessed it, truth. There's facts in this movie, for sure. There's honesty. There's truth. There's Oliver Stone's love of understanding this time and this period in American history and world history. But so much of it is just not feasible. It's not there. It's as made up as Return of the Jedi. You might as well just have a couple Ewoks running around Jim Garrison's office. But guys, this movie is really one of the all-time greats. I love discussing it. I love talking about it. I love watching it. Anyone out there that is just interested in what can we do with a page and a typewriter and let's just say 3 to 4 actors in the room. Like, what can we do? We just need a room. And we're going to shoot it and win a Academy Award. But we're all going to be in the room, guys. We're all going to be in a room. It's one of the great takeaways. I love this movie. I hope one day you discover this flick and just look at it. Just watch it for a movie. AKAPAD here, guys. Film Buff Podcast. Love you.
Okay, that's a wrap.